and the line of duty. Tune in, join in, and plug in with us around the globe. Welcome to Alliance for the Brave.
In the air everywhere across America, you're listening to Alliance for the Brave, where we are reuniting our military and civilian communities by showcasing veterans' involvement and leadership across this great nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran, and I am so excited today to be with you and joining you. Go to Facebook Live, our Alliance for the Brave. You'll get to watch my wife and I. Diane is my engineer. Let me tell you, though, why I'm really excited. There's a guy I used to listen to on the radio here in Dallas, and many people say he's the number one communicator in the nation. And I believe that because I was a fan of his on WBAP a long time ago. Alliance for the Brave, welcome to Bryan Dodge, the world's best communicator. Good morning.
You bring a lot of optimism and enthusiasm into this world, but I don't know if my wife, after 43 years, would agree with that world famous communicator comment.
Well, I gotta tell you, that's my feeling, man. I'm not trying to jerk your chain. I gotta tell you too, when you look at all of the books that you have written, they're truly amazing, man.
Very blessed. God's given me, an opportunity to give back, and all of these things are a whole lot better than I really am. But I'm very humbled and thankful that we can do these things. You and I both agree with that.
Oh, absolutely. This is a blessing to be able to broadcast and to reach people and to help people. And especially here we are on the 15th day of January. We're in the new year. We need to be focus on going forward. And what's one of the most important things you can always do? Communicate. And I think that this is incredible. Let me back up a second, though, because we had talked a little bit yesterday. I would just kind of like to ask you how you got started and what motivated you to do what you did to get into the radio world.
You know what? That's a heck of a good question. And I'll make that answer very short. I mean, I went to school to be a veterinarian. I'm a big believer. I love animals. And interesting enough, as the evolution kept moving forward, things that I wanted to do were harder than they should be. And things that he wanted me to do became easier to accomplish. And in that process, I was able to begin serving people. I have a heart of a servant. I love helping people. And I really am passionate about family. Family's worth fighting for.
Oh.
And so through that process, we developed a company called Results, built it to over 180 plus employees, and then began to develop Dodge Development, which then really services family-based businesses. And so people ask me, okay, how did you actually get into it? Did you set a goal? Did you decide that's exactly where you wanted to go? Well, the truth be known, that's just the opposite. I set a goal to go one way, and God says, no, I really need you to go this way. And he humbled me enough to realize that this is a better way of just doing what I'm here to do, and that's help good people find the better side of themselves in not even their individual side, but their relationships. You and I both would agree that the greatest thing in life is when a husband and wife sitting together and all these interruptions and distractions, all the procrastinations in the world today, and all of a sudden they get back to saying, you know what, I love you. And I really appreciate you. And they see the good in that relationship. And that's something that people say, oh, you did that for me. No, I didn't. They did it for themselves. Just like you're doing the radio show now, you're just giving a platform for people to really slow down and think a little bit about what really matters in life. But thanks for asking.
I got to tell you, I'm going to be buying a bunch of your books, man. Can I buy the whole library? And your Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus. I have a great colonel who comes on, and he did the 7 leadership lessons, and I'm thinking, I want to go with the Santa Claus because I'm a giver. I'm a guy who loves to serve because I serve not only veterans, but senior citizens. And I think it's so incredible because the more we serve, the more we get served. That's a biblical proposition, right?
Yeah. Ask and you shall receive, and give and you will receive.
Absolutely.
And the Good Life Rules is my first book I wrote. And for all of you that, really have a lot to give, don't be afraid to be better than what you know. And when I say that, be better than what you know, what I mean is have faith, and that's jump ahead of something that you're comfortable with. If all you do is what you know, then you're only doing what you know. I'm asking you to be better than what you know, and sometimes we need help. And in the case of the Good Life Rules, make a long story very short, they called me. I didn't call them. I thought it was a joke. I hung up on them. I thought it was my brother. And they were calling me. They wanted me to write a book. And it was just because somebody had said, hey, I think he really needs to do something like that. Well, make a long story short, that book was written, The Good Life Rules. It's now in, I think, over $1 million in sales. The 3 of them that came out was the only 3 that I was interested in, and that was the reason I wrote it, for my mom and dad. And so I kept one. My mom got one. My dad got one. After that, all the money has gone to the military. And in that book, the one thing I think that there's a lot of things, the 45 undeniable truths and all that, but there's one thing that seems to really hit home to people, and that's my favorite 3 words. And I shared those with you when I was at that event. And that is, I really hope people will listen very carefully to these, my favorite 3 words. And that is, bring energy home. Don't go home without it. Don't go home and say you're tapped. Don't go home and say I'm wiped. Don't go home and say I've used it all up. And darn sure don't go home and say, turn on the TV, give me a cold beer, and be quiet, because that won't work for you. I guarantee you that. Is if you bring energy home, your home will give it back to you. And I believe that was the one piece out of that book that has exploded. Because too often we go home thinking we're done. No, we're not. Our number one job in life is family. And
Without
so I would love to do this. If anybody's listening right now, I'm like you. I love to give. And so those that are having an opportunity to listen right now, I'd be more than happy to give some of you the Good Life Rules book. So here's what I would do is, if you guys, anybody listening says, I really want that book, then just send me an email. Just send me an email, and the first 5 emails that come in, I'll send them to you at my cost. It'll be my gift, but it's coming from you, from me.
Hey, Diane,
are you good with that?
Put in his email real quick, and I'll pay for the mailing. But I got to tell you, I'm an avid reader and an avid student. We go to a church here in Dallas Gateway, and Pastor Robert Morris is a teaching pastor, and I eat it up learning. So learning in a book like this, just like learning, I was sitting there in Houston when you spoke, and I about fell off the chair. I took a ream of notes about what you said, and it was so important.
Yeah.
What was your second thing?
The key element of that, and first of all, my email address is just Bryan with a Y at BryanDodge.com. So the first 5 to send me an email, I'll send them the book, and they don't need to thank me. They need to thank you, because all this is happening because of what you and your wife are doing. And that's just a wonderful thing. And I'm very honored to be part of this. But when we talk about communication, there's a thing that I'm very passionate about. The better we can communicate, the better all things become possible. And in the world we live in today, somebody says, well, I'm not a good communicator. That's probably a good thing to say to yourself all the rest of your life, because that means every day you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I become better at not only saying something, but saying it in a way that people can hear it, not just listen to it. And remember I talked about the OCG? I love that analogy. OCG, people go, is that OCD? No, OCG. All you have to do is those 3 categories. Can I share a little bit of those with everybody listening?
Please do.
Okay. O means be open-minded. And right now this world needs to have, all of us need to be more open-minded. We do. We need to move forward, and we need to be open-minded. And I always talk to them about it. I says, there's 2 F words we're all living with, and you don't have to worry about it. I don't cuss. But it's either you're frustrated or you're fascinated. And what I hope that I can share with those listening today is choose to be more fascinated, because the byproduct of fascination is energy, enthusiasm, optimism, fun, excitement, all these things that come with it. Frustration, what's the byproduct of frustration? Anger, hatred, jealousy, all these negative things that come to it. Well, people say, well, how do you hold yourself to being more fascinated than frustrated? It's very simple. Just one word. When somebody says something to you that kind of brings that frustration out, just lean into them and go, Interesting.
You know, Bryan, my grandfather, who was career Navy, started in 1920 as a machinist mate, finished in 1952 as a lieutenant commander in command of a ship. So he was a man who'd worked up and seen every aspect of the Navy and of life in Southeast Asia and World War II. He used to say,
big time.
Never judge a man till you walk in his shoes. Never make a decision till you walk in his shoes. And I always thought what that meant is, and what you were saying just parallels that by saying, if you understand where he's coming from, then you can really begin to communicate. If you don't understand, then all it's going to do is become a frustrating conversation. I love this. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah. And then the other last little key part of that is that, if you use the word interesting, then what that does is drive you into learning. You're interested. Oh, tell me why you feel that way. Tell me what you see that I don't see. Tell me and you begin to learn. And here's what I've learned. There are factors out there in life that I disagree with, but I can learn from. It doesn't mean I change my values, my principles, but it does mean that it humbles me and helps me become more knowledgeable and educational. And the one comment you made about reading, and I hope that people appreciate my transparency. You know me, I'm pretty transparent. Is that I don't like to read. And people go, what? And I said, no, that was my biggest battle in life. So I really hope that somebody's listening going, oh, my goodness, I appreciate him saying that, because I'm assuming all readers are readers and they love to read and they get up in the morning and that's all they want to do. Not all of us. So you got to figure out the one thing, and that is to be open-minded. You have to really drive your life by the why, not the how. And I always say those who focus on the how always end up working for those who focus on the why. So figure out why, figure your why, and it'll drive forward your how. Well, I read because I don't like to read. But why do I read so much? Because I read to find books to give to people. That's my why. I don't read for myself. And people go, well, that's not healthy. Really? I said, you got kids? They go, yeah. I said, you do things for your kids you don't even do for yourself. So be quiet. You know what I'm saying?
You brought up an interesting point. So I'm going to go down a quick rabbit hole. I went to Dallas Theological Seminary for 3 semesters about the time I started this program, and I had to quit because I couldn't do it all. But I had a teacher who's now the dean, Dr. Mark Yarbrough, and he had a class in how to read the Bible. Here's the thing, Bryan. He was talking about how do you read any book? How do you get something out of it? How many times have you read a paragraph and you sit there and you go, what did I just read? What did I just read? So,
took a trip and never left the book. Okay,
yeah, and so I started learning to take some notes, and I found some tools for me using Dr. Yarbrough's classes to be able to read more effectively, and not only more effectively, but to be able to read and gain out of it and learn from it. Yeah. And I think you're right, man. As a kid growing up, I had a hard time reading. I had a terrible time reading. I hear you. Well, I tell you what, we got about a minute before we're going to go to a commercial break. But again, let's give out the address, the Bryan Dodge. Bryan at BryanDodge.com, and it's Bryan with a Y, Bryan. And I got to tell you, you need to go to his website as well. It's Bryan Dodge Development is what we found. BryanDodge.com. Okay. And I got to tell you, you're going to see some amazing things. So this is Jim Blythe. We're talking with Bryan Dodge. We're going to talk about how you can be a better communicator, a better listener, and a better leader as we go into this year. This is Jim Blythe. Come on right back. We're going to be having a great day. Thank you for listening to Alliance for the Brave. Okay, Bryan, we're on Facebook right now while the commercials pay for this program. Gosh, thank you. You are so motivating and amazing. The same as what I experienced in Houston. But what I used to listen to you on WBAP. I don't even really remember a lot of it, but I'm going, I know that guy.
Yeah.
When you come back,
Yeah, no, I was very honored.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was very honored when they did that for about 8. I was on WBAP for about 8 years, and it was a real blessing. It was a real learning opportunity, because just like you, to do what you're doing, it takes a very specific skill that you have to develop, because you're not seeing people. It's one thing to sit in an audience and look at people's eyes. It's another to be able to sit in a studio and look at a mic and communicate to people as if you're looking at them. And you're very good at that. I wasn't that good, so I had to hire a coach, Mark Marvel. He was blind, and I wish I had time to tell you the whole story, but Mark, I picked him up to take him to Victory Park, and he would jump in my truck and go, "Let me drive." And you know what's amazing? What was amazing about this guy? I love this guy. Love him. I miss him so much. He was a brother. He's passed away. But he would tell me where I'm turning. He would tell me where I was parking. He was so, because he lost his sight very early in life, all the other senses just stepped up. And but he taught me how, the one thing that he lived by is, and I love to share this with you, his mission was simple. I have lost my sight as a child, but I have more vision than people that have 20/20.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to see today will blind you. Mm-hmm. There's too much to see.
I took a deep breath when you said that one. I got to tell you, I was very, very blessed. I met this guy when I was like 16 years old. You may have known him, Michael Spears, and he'd built a mock radio station in his dad's garage. And I go, "Oh, this is fascinating." He said, "Okay, here's some AP wire service printouts, and you read the news." And he taught me how to do sight reading and how to do the news. Then we'd switch. Well, we did that. I actually then got to work for the old KIXL in Dallas, which was an easy music station. And then I got a couple of chances to be on WFAA. Back when WFAA and WBAP shared signals. That goes way back to the 60s before you knew it.
That goes way back.
Yeah. And so I was there. Then when I went in the Navy, I volunteered. They had our ship's radio station, and I volunteered on my first cruise to do Armed Forces Radio. And I did it from 8 to 11 every morning when we were at sea. And I had so much fun doing that. And all of the things that Michael taught me, Michael Spears went on to be the only program director in the United States to be Billboard Magazine's Program Director of the Year in 3 totally different mediums. And you will remember him from probably K104, KKDA. And he and I reconnected when he took over that station. And then he brought me on KRLD here in Dallas to do mortgage and real estate. So, hey, we're coming back to the terrestrial radio. Man, this is a blessing to get to talk to you. I can't wait to meet you. Here we go.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back. You're with Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran, and I'm talking to Bryan Dodge, who's one of the best communicators. I used to listen to him years ago when he was on radio here in Dallas. It's an incredible conversation that we're having, and you were talking about the OCG, open mind. What is the C, Bryan, in that conversation?
That's a good question, because you just nailed it. It's conversation. And you know what's interesting? Oh, Jim, this is I recognized it, but early in life, but I didn't really identify it. I hope you understand the difference. Mm-hmm. And that is, we all have 2 conversations, and some of us have more than that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, really.
People have to realize, and the cool part about it is this: an average human being talks to themselves over 50,000 times a day. And you know what's the most amazing part of this fact? Is that 80% of the conversation you have with yourself is negative. And think about this. It's your conversation. You can pick it. You're in charge of it. You're leading it, and you pick negative. I hope people are listening right now because of you. Go, whoa, he's so right. And people go, then why do I pick negative? Well, I've done decades of research. So I don't know all the. I don't like when people go, well, here's the truth. Well, how do we know what the truth is? You know the truth. Go to the Bible. But here's what I've identified, and that is that the reason why people go negative more often than positive, it's easier. It's easier to think why things won't work. It's easier to tear something down than it is to build something up. And, you know, it's easier to go that way. So if you're going to improve communication with the way you communicate with others, what I would challenge people during this time on your show is to start where it matters, your conversation with yourself. Because unless you learn how to communicate better with you, then how in the world can you communicate better with others? So there's an exercise I do, and I'll make it very short here, and that is what you need to do is understand there's positive conversations and negative conversations. Negativity hates if you know what it looks like. That's a fact of life. Because if you know what it looks like, then you see it when it comes. So give it an identification. And what I do is I use the left hand. Now somebody goes, is that a political thing? No, it's just your left hand. You can use your foot. You can use whatever you want. Come on, people. So I use my left hand, and my wife goes, I don't like that analogy because I'm left-handed. I said, then use your right hand, okay? But what you do is you identify, okay, so I look at my left hand when I'm thinking something negative about somebody, and I'm thinking negative about a situation, or I'm thinking wrong. And I say, okay, I see you. I see you. And here's how you control it. First of all, you don't get mad at your left hand. You don't get mad at your negativity because it's you. Befriend your enemy. It's military, right?
Right.
So to do that, you learn because you can learn from it and you can learn its strategy. But how do you control your left hand? Two things. Number one is recognize it. So you go, I see that. Number two is how you control the conversation is ask it better questions. I love this part, Tim. See, better questions, better conversations, better outcomes. People say, how do I change conversations? How do I change how I communicate? Then learn how to ask better questions. So when it starts talking to me about something that's really not true, it could be maybe, my kids, or I can't get a hold of my kids, so I start thinking things negative, or somebody didn't show up to work, so I start thinking things negative. I just ask them a question. I say, you know what you just told me? How can that be true when I've known this person for this long? And people always ask me, well, does it answer back? No, it doesn't. A good question shuts it up.
That is
the right hand.
That is so amazing.
The right hand, let me finish real quick on that.
All right.
Yeah, the right hand is identifying what you do. It's who you are. It's optimism. It's positive. I can do this. It's not motivation. I don't believe in motivation, because if you take an idiot and you motivate him, you've got a motivated idiot. I believe in inspiration. So what you have here is you got the right hand saying, okay, this is what I can do, and this is who I really am. And then the left hand identifies it. Well, I was on a plane not too long ago, and this guy owns a $2 billion company. And I met him years ago, and he says, Dodge, I just want to let you know one thing. Two things impacted my life big time. Thank you. I said, what was it? He said, bring energy home. My wife will thank you every day for that. Every day. Because I'm not sure we'd be together if I would have changed that direction. I said, what was the second? He said, I had no idea I talked to my left hand that much.
Boy, you and me both. Negativity is kind of a human nature. And when we come back after the break, I want to talk about so much negativity in communication in the media today, in the news, in everything we look at. But we're going to get on the G of the OCG, but we're also going to talk about the negativity we're bombarded with. This is Jim Blythe talking with Bryan Dodge. You're listening to Alliance for the Brave. No, I'm good for you. Hey, Bryan.
the fastest hour in this world is an hour of radio.
Absolutely. I mean, I say that to people, and I had Secretary Wilkie of the VA on. I've had the directors of the VA. I've had congressmen. I've had all kinds of people, and they all go,
wow.
My God, where did the time go, Jim? I'm like, it just blows you away. Here's the other thing, though, what you're talking about, and we're talking with Facebook. By the way, folks, go to Bryan at BryanDodge.com. If you want a great book, just pick one of them. He's offered a deal. Diane put it on Facebook, but I got to tell you, I'm going to be buying The Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus. I want that one just for me. I played Santa Claus many times, especially to disabled children, and gosh. Now, in going in this, we're going some of the conversation we had yesterday. I'd like to touch on, after we do the G in your 3-letter deal, I want to talk about how we're bombarded with negativity in all of the media that we're seeing.
Yeah, what do we do with that?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, because the reality of it is, it just recognize it. It won't frustrate you.
Yeah. Now,
it's when you don't recognize it and you embrace it, it frustrates you.
Well, and not only that,
we can definitely address it.
You can't interact with them. You can't ask them like you're talking about. You push back with a question. You know, you want to understand.
Yep.
Fascinating. No. They're just blowing it at you. So what do you do with that? I think that's a great direction.
I love it. I love it. We can definitely cover that.
Oh, without a doubt. I can't wait to come down there to Galveston, man.
I can't wait till both of you come down here. Just don't fly down today, okay?
Well, we can't, buddy. I'm not about, when you got gusting 40, 50 mile an hour winds, my little Beechcraft Bonanza don't do well in that. I mean, you don't like to play that game.
That's why I was saying that for your wisdom. Do not do it today, because you get here in about 2 minutes.
Yeah. I've had a number of planes. I'm so blessed right now. When my dad passed away, we took some money and we bought a plane, my son and I, and he has just loved it. He's really my pilot. I got my medical and I got my biennial flight review, and I'm getting current again, but Bryan, there's nothing better in a family than you have a family project that everybody works on.
Oh.
Well,
the house I have in Galveston is called Family Time. We named it Family Time. And I do everything because families that do things together grow together.
Without a doubt.
And it's not about social media. Sorry about that. But it's not about social media. It's not about being someplace you're not. It's about being present with your family and building something together or learning something together, like you're doing with your plane. But you guys we got to make sure we set it up. You come on down to the island. I'll introduce you to Rudy and Paco, or Paco, the restaurant down there, take you out to club. Vincent's a close friend of mine. He's now the GM. And just introduce you to the island, walk you around, show you all the stuff that's going on down here. And then Margaret and I can get together and we can just enjoy our time. So we got to make that happen.
Do you live on one of the canals or on the bay or on?
Yeah, I live on the canal, Pirates Cove.
Oh yeah, okay. I've been down there. I think I've been there. All right, yeah. Hey Bryan, hang with us. We're going to be right back on the terrestrial radio in just a second. And thank you for the compliment. By the way, Facebook, go look at BryanDodge.com. You're going to learn an enormous amount. It's worth it. All right, we'll be right back after these words.
Today's program is brought to you by Gear Services Web Design. Visit us on Facebook or online at AllianceForTheBrave.com. And now, back to Alliance for the Brave.
Welcome back. This is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. I'm talking to Bryan Dodge. I think he's one of the top communicators in the world, and I believe you will too when you take a look at his website, BryanDodge.com. Take a look. We've got an offer for a free book if you want to go. Take a look on Facebook. Diane has posted that. Bryan, we have had one of the most delightful conversations, and we've got about a half an hour to fill up,
So true.
about 3 million words. we were talking.
I was going to say, we got a half an hour to do a lifetime worth of sharing.
Boy, I tell you what.
So anyway.
Yeah, go to the G.
In regards to the communication.
Yeah.
Look, I want to jump one more piece on the communication.
Okay.
Because here's what I want to just give. My second book I wrote was The Principles of an Unstoppable Family Business. So if there's anybody listening right now that is part of a family business, second, third generation, or runs your business with family values, take a look. It's a book that I wrote out of 3 decades of working with families, what they do right, what they've done wrong, how we can improve that process. Because one thing that I'm really passionate about is too many companies come in and they put processes in place to fix problems. And problems usually is lack of communication within the family. I know you guys have never heard this before, right? It's rocket science. So what Dodge Development does is different. We put communication first. We get families to communicate first. We get that platform open and then put processes in place to support better communication. So the Principles of an Unstoppable Family Business, like I said, with the Good Life Rules was my first book. The first 5 people that email me, I will send them the book. That's my gift to all your listeners, the first 5 only. The second book is The Principles. So if they want to email me on the Bryan@BryanDodge.com and say, hey, I would like to have that book, well, we'll do 5 of that one as well for you. So the first 5 that comes in through the email, my office will go ahead and send them out to you. All I'm asking you to do is share it. Because one of the key elements in the Principles of an Unstoppable Family Business is live with a small box. And what do I mean by that? And then we'll move on to the G. Live with a small box. If you play golf, you know the scorecard has a very small box. And the reason why that box is small is it doesn't have enough room to write an excuse. Just saying. Okay, so here's the greatest gift that allows you. You only have enough room to put a number. And if you play golf and you put an 8, that means you're not very good. Okay? Can we all accept that truth? So if you're not very good, don't get mad when you really suck. Okay? So what I'm asking you to do with this principle is live with a small box when it comes to accepting excuses. Why you cannot become a better communicator. Why you cannot fulfill your calling in life. Why you cannot live the life that you are meant to live. Because here's the truth. The less excuses you allow into your life, the more room you make available for opportunities to fit in. God wants to give you so much. Why don't you give him some room? He can put things in for you.
Amazing.
Now, G, stay.
Well, let me interject something just a second, because there's a lot of people who are military veterans who have lived with, and boy, I did my share of it with people in the military. What you put in your mind, what you think is what's going to happen. And I think one of the most important things is if you live in fear, if what you put in your mouth and it comes out, that's who you are. It's biblical. It's in James. It's in Proverbs. It's in a bunch of places. So what Bryan's talking about in conversation and negativity is so important. Now, let's go on to G. I'm sorry I interrupted you, buddy.
No, you do not have to apologize, because what you said was priceless. What goes in your mind comes out in time. We all know that. So be careful what you choose to put in, and don't be so surprised it came out.
Yeah.
I always get a kick out of people. I can't believe that happened to me. Really? That's dumber than stupid. All right, G in OCG is be good. Be good. That's all I ask of everybody to understand. Be good. Don't be average. And somebody said, well, how do you know which one you are? It's very simple. Good people appreciate what they have while they have it. Average people only appreciate what they have after they lose it. How can we give you more of what you want when what you have doesn't even make you happy? Holy cow. In the world we're in today, that's the biggest problem we have. Too much temptation, too many possibilities, too much unrealistic situations. So if you really want your life to be something more, then be really thankful for what you have first. That's being good. Is that covered?
That is so good. I had the opportunity last year to speak to the Full Gospel Businessmen's group, but it was a group I was invited to speak that was all African, Nigerian, Kenyan, and these were doctors, lawyers, accountants. I was amazed. But one of the things that was said to me is we pray for the United States. And our brothers in Africa pray for the United States because the affluence will ruin you. That's what you just said in a different way. And here are these people praying for us because our affluence is going to take us down. Man, I got to tell you, that was a powerful message. And I enjoyed speaking to that group of real African people who had come to the United States to do better. And boy, they were. I mean, there was a couple of medical doctors, a guy who ran a bunch of clinics. Amazing.
Well, here's what I know, because I've had an opportunity to do something similar, but here's what I know for sure. They blessed you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They blessed you. By you going in, you thought you were giving. It was just the opposite.
Yep.
Oh,
you went in and they gave you a lot back.
Without a
And
doubt.
there's where be better than what you know is the understanding of that process. Too often we're so in tune with what we're to do, we forget to understand what they're to give us. And you said that very well.
Well, I was humbled by the opportunity to speak to them, and it was amazing. And you talk about a praise and worship that was, wow. And I don't care what religion you are, these guys' passion was so amazing. And they were passionate about building their life and doing things and taking the opportunities that this wonderful country offers and taking them to the max. There was not one victim in the room. There are many times.
There's something that can be. Go ahead. Yeah.
No. After you.
No, I was going to say, there's the great thing we can learn from them, as well as what's going on in the world we live in today. They have the same political appearances. They have the same political directions. They have the same minority of people trying to direct the majority of outcomes. They do. In every part of the world, it exists, even here in the United States. So people have to realize the importance of paying attention to what people are saying and why they're saying it.
Absolutely.
You look at that situation and see how humbled they are and how grounded they are and how much they're praying for us, when in essence they're fighting some of the similar battles in regards to how politicians and how people of leadership and people of power are trying to direct the outcomes of events or economies or outcomes. And that was one thing you and I talked a little bit on FaceTime. So I know our time is short, so I want to really get into that. What do you think's going on in that? And how do you feel we can improve that area here in the United States?
I got an idea, but I don't know if it can be done, because I think one of the things, and I talked with an economist this week, and we were talking about, we feel like the stock market's overdone. We feel like overblown. We feel like the real estate market is going absolutely crazy and it's overblown. We feel like there's a major correction or even a crash coming. And I said, but I don't see some of the things like I did in 1987 with the savings and loan, or 1991 with the dot-bomb industry, or 2008 with the mortgage meltdown. And he said, I think it's a governmental meltdown that is being fueled by the media. And I'm going, whoa. He said, we used to have a press. We used to have a media that vetted everything, that wanted to get all of the facts. Now we have media that wants to push an agenda, wants to color the facts, wants to get a reaction. And I'm like, whoa. How do you do that without suddenly saying, wait a minute, we've got your freedom of the press has gone too far, because you're not telling people this is my opinion or this is my agenda. You're saying this is the news and this is the reality. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference in what the news was in the 1950s and 60s than what it is today. My opinion. How do you change that without stomping all over the media saying, freedom of the press, you've taken it too far, you're not telling the truth?
Well, and you give your big wife a big hug, because she's kind of nailed it on the FaceTime conversation on this one. Okay, so
yeah.
let's give credit where it belongs. All right, the simple process that allows this to become a reality is we go back to the facts. The facts are there are more individuals than there are politicians. Agreed?
Thank God.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There you go. There's more individuals than there are politicians. So who really owns the direction is the people. And there are more entrepreneurs than there are politicians. So they're extremely outnumbered. So how do we begin to change the course? Well, we can't. Getting mad at them, getting frustrated, only feeds the beast. Just let you know. Trying to shut them down only strengthens the beast, whatever you want to call it. Okay, it only strengthens other people's opinion. So then how do we really begin to do it? It's simple. It's biblical. It's biblical. Be a student, not a follower. That's it. If all people in America would take a principle to being a student, not a follower, that means if somebody tells you something, especially with social media and all the ways of people being able to say whatever they want and have no facts to back it up, that platform has changed. So how do we control that platform? We become more student-focused than follower-directed. So if somebody says something, then all we ask everybody to do is go research it. Be a student. Go figure it out. And you know what? Facts don't lie. If you go to history, you go to the facts, you become a student, you'll learn, and that will change the outcome of everything that needs to be done. Because one thing I don't believe in is getting frustrated, because that feeds all the wrong things. I believe in focusing on being fascinated, and students are very fascinated.
Absolutely.
And I hope that with the short amount of time we have, that's what they need to do. You agree?
I agree. I queued you up for that one pretty well.
You did. You teed it up.
You know, one of the things too,
your wife kind of did that too.
The people who are doing this have learned that people, and it's biblical again, people are sheep. People are like sheep. They follow. You know, one of the lessons that was learned by shepherds thousands of years ago is if you have one sheep run off and go off the side of a cliff, you're liable to have all of them follow it. Sheep don't really think and understand. And if they learned, they go, gee, I don't think I'd want to jump off this cliff. I think what you said hits it right on. Maybe what we need to be doing is more of this, communicating and saying, when you listen to these things, find out if it's true. Find out what really is going on and have that impact. That is the big liberator.
Yep. In the principles of an unstoppable family business, there are, I call them the 37 befores. The Beatitudes are obviously a huge factor of all of our lives that have that base to be with, but it's called the befores. Here's two things that fits into what you just talked about. Number one, before you can lead, you need to learn to disagree without being disagreeable. That's my point.
Yeah.
You can't be a student if you're disagreeing all the time. Okay. Number two, before you can lead, you must understand no progress is made by being offended. See, in this world, somebody says something, we get offended. Well, by being offended, we can't move forward because now we've blocked ourselves. Mm-hmm. Number three is, before you can lead, you must understand that a relationship is more important than the issues. I think I said that well. Okay?
I'll buy that.
Three of the 33 of the 37 befores that are in that principles of an unstoppable family business. And I would only pray that the people that, the first five that get it, that it'll be the ones that get it for the right reasons, to strengthen family, strengthen business, and let's grow this economy the right way. Because Warren Buffett, I think, said it very well many years ago. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And right now there's a lot of things in the world that doesn't make sense.
Boy, that's for sure.
So
tell you what.
Says, well, should I sit and worry? No. I'd say just be smart with where your choices are. That's all.
All right, we're going to take a break again for our commercials. Facebook, stay with us. We're going to give you a lot of information. This is Jim Blank talking with Bryan Dodge on Alliance for the Brave. Chris Sullivan, my engineer, thank you for telling me where to go. Oh, okay. You're with Jim Blythe on Alliance for the Brave. We love it. Stay with us. We're going to have a great ending to this great program. Thank you. This is Alliance for the Brave.
It's so much fun. I'll buy a ticket to play with. I'll buy a ticket to play with you again. You're funny.
Thank you. You
you took the trip and never left the break. It was funny.
I got to tell you, I loved doing this so much. But what I started doing this when they asked me 6 years ago. This is the start of our 7th year. This is actually our anniversary from 6 years ago. But when they started asking me to do it, and I go, yeah, man, I love doing radio. I was on KRLD. I was on KLIF. I was on Armed Forces Radio. I was on da-da-da-da-da. And I jumped in. But all of a sudden, I began to see that there was a tremendous need for communication, for bringing people together. And I'm one of those Vietnam veterans who got spit on and called all kinds of names. And when I went to college down at the University of Texas, I was kind of told, well, you better wear your flak jacket and join us with Vietnam Veterans Against the War. And I go, not me, pal. I'm pressing my blue jeans and wearing a pressed shirt, and I'm here to get an education. I got to tell you, our nation got ripped apart by Vietnam, and the press did it. The press did it. And a friend of mine brought me a book he wrote called Stolen Valor. And that'll scare the daylights out of you if you read that thing. So my mission has become, how do we unite people? How do we motivate people? How do we help veterans? And I served as a financial counselor for the Denton County Court's Veterans Court. And Bryan, there is so much need of being able to lift guys up who have suffered PTS, who have suffered this, that, and whatever. And all of a sudden, we began to see that this is a ministry, not just a program.
Okay, 2 things. Number 1 is anything I can do to help you when it comes to veterans. If you don't ask me, I'm going to jump on you like a hobo on a hot dog. Are we clear on that?
Deal. Well, one of the things we're going to do.
Let me finish. Yeah, let me finish real quick on the other thing. Is one of my visions and what I want to have happen is I've got a lot of friends down here on the island that have houses. I've got a lot of captains that have boats. I would like to begin to give back experiences for people that just need some island time. So if you're looking for a place, you're looking for a house, you're looking for boats, you're looking for that, God has blessed me with a lot of relationship in my own home.
I
would be more than happy to share.
Well, let me tell you, I'm going to plug you in with Captain Chris Hampton, who is a very dear friend of mine, retired U.S. Navy. He heads the Tarrant County Heroes on the Water. They do kayak fishing, and they have had unbelievable results in helping veterans with all kinds of PSD, mental health issues, other issues, to suddenly get involved.
Yeah.
And if you're in the canals and fishing, I know that's good fishing. I tell you what, we're going to come back on the air. This is a real short segment, brother. So hang in there with me.
I know.
This goes out from Chris to Jim on Pillow Talk. Happy 6-year anniversary. Now, once again, Christopher Cross playing sailing, because that's all we play on the show.
You're listening to Alliance for the Brave, honoring, serving, and empowering those who serve our great country in the line of duty. Today's program is presented by Gear Services Web Design. Learn more about our mission and how you can plug in with us at allianceforthebrave.com. Now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back. You got Jim Blythe, and I'm bringing this program back into the dock. I've got Bryan Dodge on. Before we finish up with that, though, I've got to tell everybody, thank you very much for being part of Alliance for the Brave. This is our 6th anniversary. We started 6 years ago in 2015 doing this for veterans. What I have learned is the more we do, the more we give, the more we're a part of the community, the better we all are together. So thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave. It's been a wonderful 6 years. There's going to be 6 more years. Thank you to Robin Valtudo. Thank you to Chuck Wright. Thank you to all of the people, Atoya, London, Mason, the North Tarrant County College that was involved in the beginning. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for putting this together. And to the team now in Norfolk with Fred McKinnon, thank you for starting an Alliance for the Brave in Norfolk. All right, let's go back. We're talking with the great Bryan Dodge. Here's what I want you to do, okay? Everybody needs to go to BryanDodge.com. Take a look at these books. He's offered a chance for the Principles of Unstoppable Family Business, or the other book that he wrote, the first book he wrote.
Good Life Rules.
Good Life Rules for the first 5 people, and I think my wife has already sent in our email. Now, this is on Facebook, and more than that, I'm going to buy the Leadership Secrets of Santa Claus. You want to start the year off, you want to put things in your mind that bring success. If you sit around and go, oh, God, 2000 was horrible, 2021 was absolutely horrible, you're dead. You got to change your thinking. What is in your mind, what you say is what you do. And I got to tell you, start with Bryan Dodge. I did. I invited him in this week to talk to you about conversation, communication, and how do you become unstoppable. Bryan?
First of all, I want to say to all the people you just thanked, I know that if they were all on the show right now, they would say what I'm about ready to say, and that is we thank you and your wife for the commitment that you guys make every day to be able to do what you're doing for all the right reasons. So we thank you for that. And I would only share with you, and that's this. I like always giving good information where people can walk away and make a difference by making a better choice. If you're going to drive forward conversations, then live with RTMs. RTMs. R means results, T means that, and M means matters. Results and matters. And how do you identify that in any conversation? You usually look at 4 categories. Number 1, priorities. Is this conversation going towards priorities that I believe in, that I'm knowledgeable about, and that matters? Or are we talking about something that doesn't matter? Number 2 is unity. If we're having a conversation that's dividing us, then I don't think you need to feed it. I think you need to stop it, walk away from it. But if it's uniting, whatever it is, we can all be different, but we can agree to disagree. But we should never agree not to unite. And then the third one is accountability. If you're going to say something, I want to share this with everybody. From this day forward, whatever you promise, you have to do. And people go, why is that? I said, because you'll stop promising so much. I mean, how silly is that? You know? And so what happens is the left hand loves when you overpromise, because then you disappoint people. And how do you get somebody who has a heart that wants to give, stop giving? You don't. You just get them to overgive. So accountability in a conversation. If you say it, you got to do it. From this day forward, whatever you say, you got to do, so you stop promising too much.
Bryan, let's close with a prayer real quick. Father God, we thank you for our active duty military, our veterans, our first responders on the front line, and our medical professionals, for them standing in the breach to take care of us. Thank you, Jesus, for all they do, and bless them and keep them safe. This we pray in Christ's name today. Amen. Thank you, Bryan Dodge, for being part of Alliance for the Brave. Now you're part of the Alliance for the Brave team, buddy. We're going to have you on a few more times.
Well, I would be honored and very thankful. And thank you so much for really blessing my family today.
Well, we're going to come down to Galveston and go fishing together. All right. God bless. Thank you for being part of Alliance for the Brave. Go look at allianceforthebrave.com. Look at BryanDodge.com. And like us on Facebook. Sponsors, be a part of our YouTube. Take a look at what we've done. This is Jim Blythe and Diane Blythe. And we're saying, Happy New Year. Start it right. Put great things in your mind.